Welcome back to the channel, where today we're diving into one of the most fascinating and valuable coins in the world of numismatics. A coin that may look ordinary at first glance but hides a treasure trove of mistakes, anomalies, and minting quirks that make it worth an astonishing $55,000, the 1961 D Lincoln 1-cent coin. That's right, a single penny, originally worth just 1 cent, has captured the attention of collectors and investors alike due to a perfect storm of rare errors and manufacturing quirks that elevate it from pocket change to high-end collectible. And today we're going to take a deep dive into the details behind why this seemingly insignificant coin is actually worth so much. First, let's talk about what makes a coin valuable in the first place. Most coins become valuable due to a combination of rarity, condition, historical significance, and most intriguingly, errors made during the minting process. The 1961 D Lincoln cent, minted in Denver, is a textbook example of how small mistakes can result in astronomical value decades later. It's not just the year or the mint mark that makes this coin special, it's the multiple types of errors found in a small batch of these coins that make them so highly sought after. One of the key factors that contribute to the high value of the 1961 D cent is the presence of what's known as a double die error. This occurs when the die used to strike the coin shifts slightly between impressions, causing the design elements to be struck more than once in slightly different positions. In the case of the 1961 D cent, some specimens exhibit strong doubling on the date, the mint mark, and even the lettering such as Liberty and In God We Trust, which can be visibly seen without magnification in some of the more prominent examples. These doubling errors are not only striking to look at but also extremely rare, especially in coins of that era. Adding to the mystery and appeal is the fact that not all 1961 D cents exhibit these features. Only a small fraction of them were affected, making each surviving specimen with the right combination of errors exceedingly rare. In addition to doubling, other specimens feature repunched mint marks, often abbreviated as RPMs in coin collecting circles. A repunched mint mark occurs when the mint mark, in this case the D for Denver, was punched into the die more than once but in slightly different positions, leaving a ghost-like image or shadow of the original mark. These RPM varieties are especially prized when the doubling or repunching is prominent and unambiguous. In the 1961 D, there are known varieties where the D mint mark appears clearly struck twice, overlapping in a way that's almost artistic in its imperfection, adding an extra layer of uniqueness and desirability to the coin. Combine this with the historical context of minting practices in the early 1960s, when dies were still being hand-punched and quality control was not as technologically advanced, and it becomes easy to see how such errors could occur but also how rare they are to survive in pristine condition. Speaking of condition, that's another major contributor to the coin's value. Coins are graded on a scale from 1 to 70, with 70 representing a perfect, flawless coin. The 1961 D cent with error varieties that are also graded at high levels, say MS65, MS66, or even higher, are the ones commanding the truly eye-popping prices at auctions and among collectors. Mint state examples that also feature strong doubling or RPMs are often slabbed and certified by professional grading services like PCGS or NGC, further validating their authenticity and increasing their market value. And the excitement doesn't stop there. Some 1961 D cents also exhibit anomalies like off-center strikes, die cracks, or cuds, where a portion of the die breaks away, leaving a raised blob of metal on the finished coin. These kinds of physical deformities add further rarity and narrative to each coin's backstory, making them all the more collectible. Think about it, a coin with multiple striking errors, in high-grade condition, authenticated and certified, all stemming from a relatively common mint year. It's the perfect storm for value. And while most people may not even look twice at a 1961 D penny in their change jar, collectors and numismatic enthusiasts know to look very closely because one of these elusive varieties could be sitting unrecognized in plain sight. Another intriguing aspect of this particular coin is the sheer number of varieties that have been discovered over the years. The 1961 D cent has more than a dozen known varieties catalogued by experts, each with its own subtle but distinguishable features. These include variations in the RPMs, different levels of dye deterioration doubling, and various states of dye wear that all contribute to a rich and complex landscape of collectible versions. For the seasoned collector, this creates an entire subcategory of the Lincoln Cent series that's ripe for exploration and discovery. It's almost like a treasure hunt where knowledge, patience, and a keen eye can yield big rewards. Even among casual hobbyists, the allure of possibly finding one of these valuable errors has driven renewed interest in Lincoln Cents, and especially in that fabled 1961D. The market for error coins has exploded in recent years, with rare varieties like this one fetching thousands, and in some exceptional cases like the highest graded double-die 1961D specimens, even tens of thousands of dollars in competitive bidding environments. Auction houses have seen these coins cross the block with final hammer prices well into 5 figures, often due to aggressive competition among dedicated collectors who understand just how rare these specimens are. Some have speculated that only a few dozen of the high-grade, higher examples still exist, making them rarer than many gold coins from the same era. And what's more exciting is the possibility that more of these coins are still out there, sitting unnoticed in old collections, forgotten piggy banks, or rolls of pennies passed down through families or discovered in estate sales. Because errors weren't always documented or caught immediately, many of these rare coins were released into circulation without any fanfare, blending in with the billions of other cents minted that year. It's that potential for discovery, that thrill of finding a hidden gem, that keeps the passion for numismatics alive and fuels the ongoing interest in coins like the 1961D cent. Collectors and experts often advise looking closely at the details, using magnification to inspect the mint mark, the date, and the text for signs of doubling or other anomalies. Because even the slightest error can exponentially increase the value. In fact, coin roll hunters often focus on rolls of 1961D cents purchased from banks or found in bulk sales because of the slim but exciting chance of uncovering one of these rare varieties. And it's not just experienced collectors who are cashing in. There are stories of complete beginners stumbling upon valuable 1961D errors while sorting through inherited coin jars or flea market finds, proving that you don't need to be an expert to potentially make a big discovery. The 1961D Lincoln Cent embodies everything that makes coin collecting so compelling: a common item with the potential for uncommon value, a story steeped in historical context and minting practices, a visual and technical interest that appeals to the analytical eye, and a dynamic market that rewards rarity and quality. So whether you're a lifelong collector, a casual enthusiast, or someone just discovering the world of coin collecting, the 1961D penny serves as a powerful reminder that value can hide in the most unassuming places, that overlooked details can mean the difference between 1 cent and $55,000, and that the stories our coins carry can be just as rich as their price tags. If you've got a jar of old pennies lying around, or access to rolls of older coins, it might be worth taking a closer look, because the next $55,000 mistake might be hiding right under your nose in the form of a 1961D Lincoln Cent waiting to be rediscovered and appreciated for all its flawed and fascinating glory. And now, continuing our journey into the world of extraordinary coins hidden in plain sight, let's turn our attention to another stunning piece of copper history that has captured the interest and imagination of collectors, dealers, and treasure hunters around the world: the 1964D Lincoln 1 cent coin, another tiny artifact of American currency that, thanks to its unique blend of minting errors and unexpected anomalies, can be worth up to a jaw-dropping $50,000 or more in the right conditions. That's right, what was once a simple penny, minted for everyday circulation in massive numbers, has emerged decades later as one of the most sought-after error coins in the Lincoln Cent series. And if you're lucky enough to find the right one, you could be looking at a life-changing payday. But why? What could possibly make a 1964D penny so valuable, especially when over 3.7 billion of them were minted that year? The answer lies in a rare cocktail of minting mistakes, die anomalies, repunched marks, and striking issues that weren't caught before these coins entered circulation, with a small handful of examples exhibiting such dramatic and collectible flaws that they have reached staggering values at auctions and private sales alike. So let's break it down and explore what makes the 1964 cent so special, and why collectors are willing to pay tens of thousands of dollars for a single piece. One of the most prominent and well-known errors associated with the 1964 Lincoln cent is the repunched mint mark, commonly referred to in the coin world as an RPM, short for repunched mint mark. In the 1960s, mint marks were still hand-punched into the dies, and sometimes, if the initial punch was not well placed or sufficiently visible, a second punch was applied. When these punches were misaligned even slightly, they left behind what collectors now treasure as RPM varieties. On the 1964 cent, some RPMs are extremely bold and visible even without a magnifying glass, showing a shadowed or doubled D mint mark, sometimes tilted or offset dramatically. These are not only visually striking but also very rare, and when combined with a high-grade, well-preserved condition, their value skyrockets. But it doesn't stop there. Beyond repunched mint marks, other examples of the 1964 cent show strong doubling on the obverse side of the coin, particularly in the date, the word Liberty, and the motto, In God We Trust. These doubled die obverse DDO varieties occur when the die used to strike the coin is misaligned or rotated slightly between strikes, creating a shadow-like doubling effect that's highly prized among collectors. Some examples show extreme doubling that can be identified easily with the naked eye, which is precisely what collectors and dealers are on the lookout for. The combination of a doubled die obverse with a repunched mint mark is incredibly rare and considered a combo error. And when found in near mint or uncirculated condition, these coins have been known to command enormous premiums. Condition, of course, is another massive factor. Like all coins, the 1964 Lincoln cent is graded on the Sheldon scale, with MS, mint state, coins graded from 60 to 70, where 70 represents a flawless specimen. High-grade examples of error varieties, especially those certified by respected services like PCGS, Professional Coin Grading Service, or NGC, Numismatic Guarantee Corporation, are highly desirable and far more valuable than lower-grade or worn counterparts. It's not uncommon for an MS-66 or MS-67 1964 cent with a strong RPM, or DDO, to bring in tens of thousands at auction. In fact, some of the top sales recorded for this coin have been linked directly to its perfect storm of high-grade, dramatic doubling, and bold mint mark errors. Now let's talk about some of the more obscure but equally fascinating types of errors found on the 1964 penny, including off-center strikes, die cracks, die chips, and even clipped planchets. An off-center strike occurs when the blank planchet is not properly seated in the press, resulting in a coin that is only partially struck with a blank crescent of missing design, and the most valuable examples are those with 5% to 15% off-center, but still showing a full date and mint mark. Die cracks and chips occur when the die used to strike the coin develops a fracture or piece breaks off entirely, resulting in raised, irregular lines or blobs on the coin's surface. Some collectors seek out coins with large or unusually shaped die cracks, often referred to as retained cud or interior die break errors. These errors can add dramatic visual appeal to a coin and, when combined with other flaws or found in mint condition, can increase its market value significantly. Another unusual error seen in some rare 1964 cents is known as a clipped planchet, where a portion of the coin's edge is missing due to a misfeed in the blanking press. When genuine and authenticated, these clipped coins can be highly collectible, especially if the rest of the coin is well struck and in great condition. It's also important to note that while 1964 Lincoln cents were produced in extremely high numbers, not all errors are created equal, and the coins that have sold for $50,000 or more represent the rarest, most dramatic, and most pristine examples in existence. Many collectors and dealers spend years searching through rolls and boxes of 1964 pennies to find just one significant error, and that's because the payoff can be immense. There have been documented cases of individuals discovering valuable RPM or DDO varieties in circulation, in old coin jars, or even inherited collections that were never properly sorted or graded. And thanks to modern grading services and online marketplaces, These discoveries can now be authenticated, marketed, and sold to an enthusiastic global audience willing to pay top dollar for top-tier specimens. What also makes the 1964 descent especially intriguing is the transitional period it represents in U.S. coinage history. The mid-1960s were a turbulent time for American currency, with coin shortages, changes in minting practices, and increasing demand from both the public and collectors leading to accelerated production and occasional lapses in quality control. During this time, the U.S. Mint was experimenting with new materials, retiring older dies, and scaling up production, particularly at the Denver Mint, which was responsible for billions of coins in this era. With so much pressure and volume, it's not surprising that mistakes slipped through the cracks. But what is surprising is just how rare some of these mistakes turned out to be. Because while millions of 1964 descents were minted, the specific combinations of doubling, RPMs, off-center strikes, and other die-related errors that truly drive value are exceedingly rare and often overlooked by the untrained eye. That's why more and more people are turning to coin collecting not just as a hobby, but as a form of treasure hunting. Because coins like the 1964 penny prove that there are still untold fortunes hidden in the most unexpected places. Every year, more examples of valuable varieties come to light as collectors refine their knowledge, technology improves for inspection and grading, and awareness grows through social media, YouTube, and online coin communities. So if you've got old coins lying around, or rolls of pennies waiting to be sorted, now might be the perfect time to take a closer look, especially at your 1964 Lincoln cents. Inspect the mint mark closely with a loupe or magnifier, check the date and lettering for signs of doubling, and be on the lookout for any unusual patterns, textures, or shapes on the coin's surface. If something looks off, especially if it involves the mint mark being punched more than once, or dramatic doubling in the text, it might be worth getting the coin professionally evaluated. In some cases, what looks like a minor anomaly could be a rare error variety worth thousands, even tens of thousands of dollars. And remember, the coin market is dynamic. As more collectors seek out specific varieties and high-grade examples, prices continue to rise for the rarest coins in the best condition. The 1964 penny is a shining example of how the world of coin collecting blends history, artistry, detective work, and good old-fashioned luck into one of the most fascinating and potentially rewarding hobbies out there. A coin that once bought a piece of gum might now buy you a new car, a vacation, or even help pay off debt, all thanks to the unique quirks and imperfections born during a hurried moment at the Denver Mint more than 6 decades ago. So as we continue this journey through rare and valuable coins, let the story of the 1964 Lincoln cent be a reminder that even the smallest items can hold immense hidden value, and that with curiosity, knowledge, and a little persistence, the next big find might be sitting right in the palm of your hand. And now, continuing this incredible journey through rare and valuable Lincoln cents that have stunned collectors and auction houses alike, we turn our attention to yet another remarkable and highly coveted penny, the 1964 Lincoln 1 cent without a mint mark, a coin that, under very specific circumstances, has sold for as much as $49,000 or more, despite being one of the most mass-produced coins of its era. At first glance, it may appear just like any other old penny you'd find rattling around in a drawer, at the bottom of a jar, or buried deep in change from decades ago. But as you're about to discover, this seemingly ordinary coin can hide some truly extraordinary secrets that make it worth nearly $50,000 in the right condition and with the right types of errors. Unlike its Denver minted counterpart, the 1964 cent we just explored, this version was minted at the Philadelphia Mint, which, at the time, did not use a mint mark, meaning the coin simply displays the date, 1964, on the obverse, with no letter underneath. In total, over 2.6 billion 1964 Lincoln cents were struck at the Philadelphia Mint, which naturally raises the question, how can something produced in such enormous quantity become so incredibly valuable? And the answer, once again, lies in the realm of rare minting mistakes, unique error combinations, and high-grade preservation that all come together in extremely limited examples, making them some of the most prized finds in the world of numismatics. The most sought-after and valuable versions of the 1964 no-mint mark Lincoln cent are those that feature dramatic double die obverse errors. That is, doubling of the design elements on the front of the coin, especially the inscriptions and the date. In the case of the 1964 Philadelphia penny, some ultra-rare examples show bold doubling on the words, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the numerals of the date, 1964, itself. This doubling, which occurs during the die creation process when the design is accidentally impressed twice at slightly different angles, can result in letters and numbers that appear shadowed, split, or even distinctly duplicated. Collectors pay extremely close attention to this kind of doubling because it's very rare and incredibly eye-catching, and when found in pristine condition, it makes the coin exponentially more valuable. But there's more. In addition to doubled dies, some examples of the 1964 Lincoln cent have been discovered with other error types, including die cracks, die chips, cuds, and off-center strikes, all of which occurred due to the high-speed, high-volume minting operations of the early 1960s. Die cracks result from stress fractures in the hardened steel dies used to strike the coins, and when those cracks expand, they leave raised lines on the coin's surface that can be both dramatic and highly collectible. Die chips are similar but occur when a small piece of the die face actually breaks off, leading to a raised bump or blob on the coin, often in locations like Lincoln's eye or beard, which collectors sometimes nickname things like Spitting Lincoln or Extra Beard. These quirky and unintentional variations add charm, uniqueness, and, for serious collectors, value. Now let's talk about off-center strikes, which occur when the planchet, the blank metal disc used to make the coin, isn't properly aligned in the press. When the strike hits, part of the design is off the edge, and the rest of the coin might be blank. Depending on the percentage of the misalignment, and how much of the date and design are still visible, off-center errors can be worth hundreds, or even thousands, especially if they are dramatic and still show the full date. 1964. Combine one of these striking errors with a double die or a die chip, and you're looking at an even rarer multi-error coin, which can drive the price up into the tens of thousands. However, what truly drives a 1964 Lincoln cent to reach values of $49,000 and above is when these kinds of dramatic errors are found on coins that are also in exceptionally high condition. We're talking about coins that have been preserved in nearly flawless, mint state condition, usually graded MS66 or higher by professional services such as PCGS or NGC. These coins have no wear, retain original mint luster, and exhibit strong strike detail, making them the elite few among billions struck. In such a high grade, even without dramatic errors, a 1964 cent can be valuable, but when you combine that pristine condition with a powerful double die or multiple minting errors, the value skyrockets. There have been specific instances where collectors and dealers have found and certified these rare varieties, and due to their scarcity and visual impact, they've gone on to sell for prices in the $40,000 to $50,000 range at public auctions or through high-end private transactions. What makes the 1964 Lincoln cent even more fascinating is that it represents the end of an era in U.S. coinage. This was the final year that the penny was struck with a 95% copper composition before the mint transitioned to a more cost-effective copper-plated zinc alloy later in the 1980s. As such, copper pennies like the 1964 issue carry a bit more nostalgia and weight, both literally and figuratively, for collectors who favor older, metal-rich coins with historical context. During this transition period, die preparation and quality control weren't always perfect, and the volume of coins being produced, over 5 billion combined between the Denver and Philadelphia mints, created the perfect environment for small mistakes to slip through, especially when equipment was pushed to its limits and older dies were reused or overused. Some of these errors, especially early in the production run, have led to the unique and collectible variants we discussed today. It's also important to mention that a few ultra-rare proof-like, or specially struck 1964 cents have surfaced over the years, believed by some experts to have been made using polished dies or early die states, resulting in coins with unusually sharp details and reflective fields. While the U.S. Mint didn't officially produce proof cents for public release in 1964, some of these special pieces are thought to have originated from experimental runs or internal die testing, and their mystery only adds to their allure and value. When such coins are authenticated and combined with die varieties or errors, they become numismatic treasures, practically irreplaceable and extremely valuable. Another overlooked but crucial factor in the value of a 1964 cent is population rarity. That is, how many known examples of a particular error or variety exist in top grades. If, for example, there are only 2 or 3 known examples of a certain double die or RPM in MS66 or better, collectors will compete fiercely for those coins, often driving prices up to shocking levels, especially if the coin is also eye-appealing, with clean surfaces, no carbon spots, and a strong red or red-brown luster. And it's this very competition, this passion for having the rarest and best examples, that makes coins like the 1964 Lincoln cent such headline grabbers when they hit the market. The excitement, the history, the scarcity, it all feeds into the mystique and the thrill of the hunt. Stories abound of individuals who discovered one of these rare varieties completely by chance, in pocket change, in inherited collections, or in unsearched rolls bought from banks or estate sales, and turned what they thought was a common coin into a 5-figure windfall. And the truth is, these coins are still out there. While they are undeniably rare, many are still hiding in plain sight, unrecognized by casual handlers, overlooked by the untrained eye, or sitting quietly in forgotten albums waiting for the right collector to spot the doubling, the die break, or the off-center strike that sets the coin apart. So if you're ever going through a stash of old coins, or browsing through vintage penny rolls, or maybe just checking the change in your hand after a cash transaction, be sure to take a closer look at any 1964 Lincoln cent. Check the date for doubling, examine the letters for shadowing or split serifs, look for unusual bumps, cracks, or off-center designs, and especially pay attention to condition. Because with the right combination of error and preservation, even the most ordinary penny can become an extraordinary find worth tens of thousands of dollars. And with that, the 1964 no-mint mark Lincoln cent secures its place in the pantheon of modern American coinage, a humble, copper coin with the power to turn everyday people into accidental treasure hunters, and a vivid reminder that in the world of numismatics, the smallest details can lead to the biggest surprises. And now, let's continue our deep dive into the incredible world of rare and valuable Lincoln cents by shifting focus to a much newer coin that, despite being minted in massive quantities during a more modern era of production, still manages to astonish collectors and command enormous prices due to the presence of rare and dramatic minting errors, the 1981 D Lincoln 1-cent coin, which in rare cases has sold for as much as $25,000 or more under the right combination of mistakes, grade, and scarcity. At first glance, you might assume that a penny minted in the 1980s, during a time of heightened minting automation and increased quality control, wouldn't be able to generate the same numismatic excitement or high-end auction results as some of the earlier coins from the 1960s or before. But the 1981 D penny proves that assumption wrong in a powerful way. It serves as a fascinating example of how even in an era defined by technological advancement, the human element and mechanical processes behind coin production can still lead to spectacular, highly collectible errors that escape the mint and end up in circulation, only to be discovered, in some cases, decades later by eagle-eyed collectors or lucky individuals who happen to stumble upon a forgotten coin with enormous hidden value. So, what exactly makes the 1981 D penny worth a potential $25,000 when the vast majority of them are worth just face value? First, let's start with the basics. This coin was minted at the Denver Mint in 1981, the last full year that the U.S. Mint produced Lincoln cents using a composition of 95% copper and 5% zinc, before switching to a predominantly zinc-based planchet in mid-1982 due to rising metal costs. This alone makes 1981 cents, especially in pristine condition, more desirable to copper penny hoarders and collectors who appreciate the pre-1982 weight and metallic consistency. However, Metal composition alone isn't what drives the astronomical value of certain 1981D pennies. It's the dramatic and rare errors that occurred in a very limited number of examples that truly set them apart. Among the most notable and valuable errors found on 1981D Lincoln cents is the double die obverse, or DDO, an error that results from the die used to strike the coin being impressed with the design more than once at slightly different angles. In the case of some rare 1981D cents, strong doubling can be seen in the date 1981, the letters in Liberty, and the national motto, In God We Trust. This doubling is sharp, clear, and sometimes visible even without magnification, which immediately increases the coin's visual appeal and desirability in the collector market. While double dies are well known and widely collected across many dates in the Lincoln cent series, high-grade, dramatic DDO varieties for 1981D are incredibly scarce, and many collectors spend years searching for just one example. Now, while most 1981D cents were struck with clean, standard dies, the handful that display this strong obverse doubling stand out dramatically, and when they are also preserved in mint state condition, particularly grades of MS65, MS66, or higher, they can command thousands or even tens of thousands of dollars at auction. But that's just the beginning. Another highly collectible error that appears in some rare 1981D Lincoln cents is the retained cut or die break, a minting defect that occurs when a portion of the die face cracks or breaks off, causing a raised blob of metal to appear on the coin's surface. These cut errors can occur anywhere on the coin, but in rare cases, they appear in visually dramatic locations such as near Lincoln's face, in the date area, or interrupting the rim or inscriptions. When these cuts are large, well-formed, and positioned in places that draw attention, they become significantly more desirable, especially when they are paired with high-grade surfaces and full copper luster. Then there are the repunched mint marks, or RPMs, which can also be found on a small number of 1981D cents. Although the practice of hand-punching mint marks was nearing its end by the early 1980s, there were still occasional inconsistencies that resulted in repunched mint marks, where the D was punched into the die more than once in slightly different positions. These overlapping impressions create a ghosted or doubled mint mark effect that is extremely appealing to specialists who collect RPM varieties across the Lincoln cent series. While RPMs on their own may not always command tens of thousands, when combined with other major errors, like a double die obverse or dramatic cud, the overall appeal and rarity of the coin is significantly amplified. And of course, condition remains one of the most critical factors in determining a coin's ultimate value. For a 1981D Lincoln cent to reach the $25,000 threshold, it typically must be a spectacular example in nearly flawless mint state condition, meaning no visible wear, strong strike, brilliant luster, and preferably certified and encapsulated by a trusted grading service like PCGS or NGC with a designation of MS66 red or better. Coins graded at this level represent the top tiny fraction of survivors from the original mintage, and are especially rare when coupled with significant errors. In recent years, the increasing popularity of error coins and the growth of online marketplaces, coin shows, and social media groups dedicated to numismatics have all contributed to heightened awareness of valuable penny errors, with the 1981D DDO and CUD varieties gaining traction among both veteran collectors and newcomers. In fact, some coins previously dismissed or overlooked in the past have resurfaced, been reevaluated with better tools, and gone on to achieve new price records as collectors continue to discover the incredible diversity and hidden value of modern-era coins. Some of the top $1981D penny sales occurred when savvy collectors spotted bold double die examples in unsearched bank rolls or inherited collections, had them authenticated by grading services, and marketed them to serious buyers in competitive bidding environments, showing that with the right mix of knowledge and a little luck, life-changing finds can still happen today. Additionally, because the 1981D penny represents the final full year of the copper era for Lincoln cents, there is a sentimental and historical appeal attached to this issue. Many collectors seek out high-grade 1981DS simply to complete copper era sets, or to secure a pristine example before the transition to zinc that began the following year. This collector demand adds another layer of market strength to already rare and desirable errors, driving up prices even further. And when one of these coins carries dramatic visual errors, high eye appeal, and elite level grades, its auction value can soar, as evidenced by known examples that have approached or surpassed $25,000 in realized sales. Furthermore, it's important to remember that not all 1981D errors have been cataloged yet. Because many people are still unaware of what to look for, or may assume newer pennies hold little value, there's a strong possibility that new and unique errors may still be discovered in this date, meaning the field is still open for new finds, new attributions, and new top-dollar discoveries. So whether you're a seasoned collector, a roll hunter, or someone just beginning to explore the world of coin collecting, it's definitely worth paying close attention to any 1981D pennies that cross your path. Use a magnifying glass or coin loupe to examine the date and inscriptions closely. Look for signs of doubling in the date or lettering. Inspect the mint mark for signs of repunching. Scan the coin's surface and rim for any die breaks, cuds, or other oddities. If you spot anything unusual and the coin appears to be in excellent condition, consider having it evaluated by a professional grading service, because that small copper coin might not just be an ordinary penny, but one of the rarest and most valuable Lincoln cents of its kind. The story of the 1981D penny is yet another thrilling reminder that numismatic treasures can still be discovered in the most unexpected places, and that even modern coins, when they bear the marks of minting mistakes and survive the passage of time in pristine condition, can rise to incredible value, turning everyday pocket change into a collector's dream worth $25,000 or more. And continuing this incredible journey through the world of rare and valuable Lincoln cents, let's now focus on yet another copper-coated marvel that has stunned collectors and casual enthusiasts alike, the 1985D Lincoln 1-cent coin, which, in rare and exceptional circumstances, has sold for as much as $21,000 or more due to a combination of striking mint errors, unique die varieties, and high-grade preservation that elevate it far beyond its humble 1-cent face value. The 1985D penny, minted at the Denver Mint, may at first appear to be an ordinary modern coin from the latter part of the 20th century, mass-produced and widely circulated, but hidden within the billions of coins struck that year lies a handful of highly elusive and valuable examples that collectors dream of finding, and for good reason. They represent some of the most dramatic and visually stunning errors ever discovered on a modern Lincoln cent, and when found in pristine condition, authenticated, and properly graded, they can command prices well into 5 figures at auctions, private sales, or among elite collectors. To understand why, we need to look at a few key factors that can turn an otherwise common penny into a highly valuable treasure. First and foremost, the primary driver of extreme value in 1985D pennies is the presence of a major double die obverse, or DDO. This error occurs during the hubbing process, where the working die is impressed with the coin's design more than once, but at slightly different angles or positions. This creates a doubling effect on the struck coins, most noticeably seen in the inscriptions such as "Liberty in God We Trust" and the date 1985 itself. On rare 1985D examples, this doubling is bold, crisp, and very dramatic, to the point where it can often be seen with the naked eye, especially in the Liberty lettering, where split serifs and shadowed characters give the coin a powerful, almost three-dimensional appearance. Collectors and specialists immediately recognize the significance of this type of error, especially on modern coins where strong doubling is relatively rare due to more advanced quality control processes at the mint. In the case of the 1985D DDO, only a very limited number of examples have been discovered, and those that exist in high-grade mint state condition, particularly MS65 red and above, are considered trophies in the error coin community. When certified by top grading services like PCGS or NGC, these coins often receive special variety attributions on their holders, further enhancing their collectability and market appeal. But doubling isn't the only error to watch for. Another significant source of value in 1985 cents comes from die clashes, a rare and visually stunning minting anomaly that occurs when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them. This violent clash of metal-on-metal transfers part of the reverse design onto the obverse die, and vice versa. When the next coin is struck, faint impressions from the opposite die appear where they shouldn't be. On some 1985 specimens, collectors have observed faint outlines of the Lincoln Memorial columns on Lincoln's shoulder or face, or portions of Lincoln's profile faintly mirrored within the memorial design on the reverse. These so-called clash die errors are extremely popular among collectors, especially when they are strong, easily visible, and well-centered. Combine a dramatic die clash with high condition and possibly other errors like die cracks or chips, and the coin can soar in value. Speaking of die cracks and chips, these are additional types of minting flaws that have turned some 1985 pennies into highly desirable collectibles. Die cracks occur when the die itself fractures, producing raised lines across the coin's surface, often resembling lightning bolts or branching veins. Die chips, on the other hand, form when a piece of the die breaks away entirely, leaving raised blobs or lumps of metal on the coin. Some dramatic die chip varieties, like a large chip near Lincoln's eye, nose, or beard, have even earned colorful nicknames from collectors, such as the extra eye or horned Lincoln. These dramatic, nicknamed error varieties tend to gain cult followings and can command significant premiums, especially when preserved in high grades. There are also known off-center strike errors from 1985 where the coin blank was not properly centered in the striking chamber, resulting in part of the design being cut off while a blank crescent of the planchet remains. Depending on the severity and position of the off-center strike, particularly if the date is still fully visible, these errors can be worth hundreds or even thousands of dollars, especially in mint state condition. But one of the most mysterious and valuable types of 1985 pennies ever discovered comes in the form of a wrong planchet error, where a coin is struck on a planchet intended for a different denomination. For example, a few extremely rare 1985 cents have been found struck on copper nickel dime planchets, or even foreign coin blanks. These errors are spectacular because they combine wrong metal content, unusual weight, incorrect size, and off-center design elements, and they almost never leave the mint, making them extraordinarily rare. When authenticated and paired with a date and mint mark as modern as 1985 their market value can explode, sometimes reaching into the $20,000 plus range depending on condition, metal type, and overall eye appeal. However, rarity and error alone are not enough. Condition remains a critical factor in reaching that top-tier $21,000 valuation. To achieve this level of market value, the 1985 penny in question must be in near-flawless condition, typically graded MS66 red or higher, with brilliant original mint luster, no spots, no scratches, and strong strike definition. A coin like this, with a major error and certified by a reputable grading company, becomes the kind of piece that serious collectors are willing to battle for in auction settings. And despite being relatively modern, high-grade 1985 error pennies are rare precisely because of how these coins were used. The vast majority of them went straight into circulation, jostled around in pockets, spent in stores, rolled in bank rolls, and stored in jars or coin purses, often accumulating scratches, discoloration, and wear over time. That means finding one in pristine condition today, let alone with a major mint error, is an extraordinary challenge. And that's exactly why the few that exist in this perfect storm of high grade and high error can command prices upwards of $21,000. Even more fascinating is the possibility that new 1985 errors are still being discovered. As more collectors and enthusiasts become aware of the high value certain varieties can fetch, they're combing through change jars, searching penny rolls from banks, and re-examining old collections in hopes of finding a previously unknown variety, a new doubled die, a different RPM, or an as yet undocumented clash or planchet anomaly that could become the next big find. And indeed, coin forums, YouTube channels, and numismatic communities continue to share photos, findings, and theories about potential new 1985D anomalies, sparking ongoing excitement and interest in this seemingly ordinary coin with extraordinary potential. For anyone curious about joining this treasure hunt, the 1985D penny is an excellent candidate to study and examine, both because of the known major errors and the possibility of discovering something new. With billions of them struck, the odds may seem long, but history has shown time and again that rare coins can and do emerge from the most unexpected places, whether from a handful of pocket change, a forgotten piggy bank, a coin jar inherited from a grandparent, or a $25 box of rolls from your local bank. All it takes is one coin with the right combination of doubling, clash marks, wrong planchet, die break, or extreme off-center strike, and of course, high-grade preservation, to transform an everyday penny into a five-figure windfall. So next time you're sorting through your coins, pay special attention to any 1985D Lincoln cents. Look closely at the lettering, the date, and the mint mark. Use a magnifier or loupe to search for doubling, repunching, or odd textures. Inspect both sides for clash designs, missing elements, unusual shapes, or alignment issues. If you find something suspicious and the coin looks clean and uncirculated, don't dismiss it, have it authenticated and graded. Because as the story of the 1985D penny proves, even a modern coin, when it carries the scars of a perfect minting mistake, can be worth $21,000 or more, hiding in plain sight and just waiting to be discovered. And as we continue unraveling the hidden gems of American coinage, our spotlight now shifts to another fascinating entry in the Lincoln Cent series that has surprised collectors and sparked excitement in the numismatic world: the 1986 Lincoln 1-cent coin, minted without a mint mark, produced at the Philadelphia Mint, and under the right circumstances. Known to have reached a stunning market value of $18,000 or more, thanks to a perfect convergence of rare minting errors, die anomalies, and pristine condition. At first glance, the 1986 penny may not seem like a candidate for high value. It was produced during a time of modern minting, with millions upon millions issued for circulation, seemingly identical to the average change you might find in your pocket, a coin so common that most people wouldn't think twice before spending it. But as we've seen with so many other entries in this extraordinary Lincoln Cent journey, it's precisely this kind of overlooked and ordinary appearing coin that can harbor extraordinary hidden potential, and the 1986 cent is no exception. The key to its high value, once again, lies in the elusive and visually dramatic minting errors that affected only a tiny number of these coins, making them incredibly scarce and highly desirable when discovered. The most notable and valuable error found on select 1986 Lincoln cents is the doubled die obverse, or DDO. While not officially recognized in large quantities compared to some earlier Lincoln cent years, there have been confirmed and certified examples of 1986 pennies that show clear signs of doubling on the obverse side, especially in the inscriptions like, "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the four numerals of the date, 1986. When the doubling is significant and easily visible, especially on a coin that has remained in top-grade condition, collectors immediately take notice, because modern doubled dies with strong visual presence are few and far between. The doubling on 1986 cents, in rare error examples, can appear as bold split serifs, ghosted shadows, or overlapping characters, often best seen under magnification but sometimes so intense that it jumps out to the naked eye. These doubled dies are a result of the working die being hubbed more than once in slightly different positions, a flaw that the U.S. Mint worked hard to reduce in the 1980s with improved die production techniques. But no system is perfect, and every once in a while, a die slips through with a dramatic misalignment, and the coins struck from it become numismatic legends when discovered. But the DDO is only one of the valuable varieties. Some 1986 cents have been found with significant die break errors, particularly retained cuds and major die cracks, which can create raised, misshapen areas on the surface of the coin. When these die breaks occur near the date, lettering, or Lincoln's portrait, they tend to catch the eye and can be striking in appearance. In some cases, the cut creates a blank, rounded lump along the rim that partially obliterates the design, resulting in a one-of-a-kind minting anomaly that elevates a simple coin to a prized error collectible. Another rare but known anomaly is the broad strike error, which occurs when a coin is struck without a properly seated retaining collar, allowing the metal to spread out wider than usual and creating a coin that appears larger in diameter with a flattened rim. On 1986 cents, this broad strike can appear with well-centered details or in combination with other errors, increasing its appeal to specialists and error collectors. Die clashes also occasionally appear in the 1986 series, caused when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet in between, leaving ghost-like imprints of design elements from one side faintly visible on the other. While clash marks are more subtle than doubling or cuds, they are deeply appreciated by collectors who enjoy hunting for these fine, hidden details that make one coin stand out from the billions of others. And perhaps the most dramatic error to ever appear on a 1986 penny, albeit in extremely rare and scarcely seen examples, is the wrong planchet strike, a situation where the coin is struck on a blank intended for another denomination, or even a foreign coin. A 1986 Lincoln cent struck on a dime planchet, for example, would be noticeably smaller, lighter, and would have much of its design cut off due to the smaller surface area. These types of errors are almost always discovered accidentally and only after careful inspection, and they generate immediate interest in the collector market due to their extreme rarity and undeniable uniqueness. But as with all valuable coins, rarity alone isn't enough to hit the $18,000 mark. Condition plays a pivotal role, and only the highest grade, mint state examples will command that level of value. For a 1986 penny to reach or exceed that $18,000 price point, it typically must be graded MS66 red or higher by PCGS or NGC, displaying flawless or near-flawless surfaces, brilliant mint luster, and sharp, bold strikes. Coins like this are the best of the best, elite survivors from mass production that manage to avoid any significant handling, discoloration, or environmental wear. And when one of these coins also features a major mint error, like a doubled die or wrong planchet, the combination of scarcity, eye appeal, and technical excellence can make it irresistibly valuable to serious collectors. Furthermore, demand for high-grade modern era coins has been steadily growing in recent years, as more collectors focus on modern era varieties once dismissed as too common to be interesting. The re-examination of these coins with advanced equipment and a better understanding of die variety classifications has opened new doors for discovery and investment. The 1986 Lincoln cent is now part of this new wave of appreciation, where even post-1982 zinc coins, once written off as cheap or mundane, are now being scrutinized with a fine-toothed comb by both amateur roll hunters and professional numismatists alike. In fact, several cases have emerged in recent years where collectors found rare 1986 era varieties in bank rolls, inherited jars, and unsearched bulk lots, only to later realize that they were holding a five-figure coin. One such case involved a collector who discovered a strong DDO 1986 penny in a batch of copper-plated zinc cents, had it professionally authenticated and graded MS66 red, and later sold it for over $18,000 in a major auction due to its pristine condition and dramatic doubling. These success stories only add fuel to the fire, encouraging more and more people to give close attention to coins that were once ignored or deemed worthless. And unlike some older, low-mintage coins where the odds of finding a rare example in the wild are practically non-existent, coins like the 1986 Lincoln cent offer real potential for discovery, because so many of them remain in circulation or tucked away in private stashes, waiting to be re-examined. So if you have any 1986 pennies in your collection, coin jar, or roll hunting box, now is the time to take a closer look. Examine the obverse under magnification for signs of doubling, especially in the lettering and date. Inspect the edges and surface for unusual bulges, raised lumps, or flattened rims that could indicate die breaks, cuds, or broad strikes. Test the weight if possible, as a wrong planchet will differ from the standard 2.5 grams for zinc pennies. And above all, pay attention to overall condition. If you find a coin with a major error that also appears to be in near-perfect, mint-state shape, it may be worth submitting it for professional grading, because it could be one of the few elite 1986 Lincoln cents that fetch $18,000 or more on the open market. And as we've seen time and time again, the Lincoln Cent series continues to be a goldmine of surprises, a landscape filled with valuable outliers and hidden rarities. And the 1986 penny stands as another shining example of how attention to detail, knowledge of errors, and a bit of luck can turn a single cent into a stunning financial windfall. And as we continue this captivating deep dive into the world of modern U.S. coinage treasures that have taken collectors by storm, we now move forward to a penny that has managed to rise from pocket change obscurity to a five-figure marvel in the numismatic spotlight, the 1987 D. Lincoln 1-cent coin, which under rare and extraordinary conditions has sold for as much as $14,000 due to a fascinating cocktail of dramatic mint errors, die anomalies, and impeccable preservation that transform this otherwise common Denver minted penny into a collector's dream. At first glance, the 1987 D penny looks like just another copper-plated zinc coin minted in the billions, part of the stream of modern U.S. currency churned out for daily use, easily dismissed and often overlooked in jars, rolls, and drawers across America. However, hidden within the mountain of 1987 D issues lie a few incredibly rare and valuable specimens that escaped quality control at the U.S. Mint, bearing critical mistakes. Mistakes that, when combined with top-tier grading and error classification, can elevate a 1-cent coin to the value of a used car or even a down payment on a house. One of the key drivers of high value in the 1987 D penny is the existence of dramatic double die obverse (DDO) varieties. While not as widely known as the 1955 or 1969 S double dies, certain 1987 D examples exhibit unmistakable doubling on the inscriptions. "In God We Trust, Liberty," and the date, 1987. In these scarce coins, the doubling is most often visible as split serifs, notches, or shadowed doubling on the edges of the letters and numbers, especially prominent in higher magnification, or even noticeable to the naked eye in bold cases. Coins showing this strong doubling and preserved in mint state condition are incredibly sought after, not only because of their rarity, but because dramatic DDOs on modern coins are harder to come by due to tighter mint controls in later years. When these errors are authenticated and graded by top-tier services like PCGS or NGC at MS65 red or better, their rarity and eye appeal can drive their value up exponentially, reaching as much as $14,000 or more depending on the market and demand at the time. But the doubling is only one chapter in the story of valuable 1987 D pennies. Another important element that adds to a coin's desirability is the presence of repunched mint marks, RPMs, which were more prevalent in earlier years but can still appear in later decades, including 1987. A repunched mint mark occurs when the D for Denver was punched more than once into the working die in slightly different positions, leaving a visible echo or shadow of the mint mark when the coin is struck. While subtle, these varieties are treasured among collectors and cataloged meticulously by error specialists, and when found in combination with high grades or other errors, they can be worth hundreds or thousands of dollars, depending on severity and visibility. Beyond the die varieties, striking errors like broad strikes, off-center strikes, and misaligned dies also account for some of the most valuable and dramatic 1987 D penny errors. Broad-struck coins appear wider and flatter than normal because they were struck outside the confines of the collar die, resulting in a stretched and warped shape with unusual visual impact. These errors are often accompanied by soft or distorted design details near the rim and, when paired with a visible date and mint mark, become extremely collectible. Off-center strikes, meanwhile, occur when the coin blank isn't properly centered during striking, resulting in part of the design being missing or shifted. The most desirable off-center errors are those where the misalignment is between 50% and 80% and the full date is still visible, which allows for authentication and makes the error even more dramatic and unique. These can fetch well over $1,000, and in near-perfect condition, their value climbs substantially. Die clashes are another subtle but fascinating type of error that affects some 1987 D cents. These happen when the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a coin blank between them, transferring parts of the reverse design onto the obverse die and vice versa. The result is ghostly impressions of Lincoln's profile appearing within the Lincoln Memorial, or traces of the memorial pillars faintly visible near Lincoln's shoulder. These clash die errors are especially prized by collectors who appreciate the mystery and rarity of these fleeting mistakes in the coining process. Even more intriguing are the few known examples of 1980 cents struck on wrong planchets. For example, those intended for foreign coins or even other U.S. denominations. Imagine a 1980 penny struck on a dime-sized planchet made of copper nickel instead of zinc with copper plating. The result would be a coin with incorrect weight, color, and design alignment, instantly recognizable and wildly valuable. These kinds of planchet errors are exceedingly rare and are generally caught by mint quality control before they ever leave the facility. But a few always slip through, and when discovered, authenticated, and certified, they can reach astonishing auction prices. One such 1980 penny struck on a foreign coin blank surfaced in the collecting world and eventually fetched thousands due to its extreme rarity and off-metal status. But just like in the previous years we've discussed, the final piece of the puzzle, and perhaps the most important, is condition. To command a price as high as $14,000, the 1980 penny must be in spectacular shape, typically certified as MS66 red or better. This means the coin shows full original red mint luster, with no spots, minimal or no contact marks, and an overall visual brilliance that's both stunning and rare for coins that were mass-produced and mostly circulated. Finding a high-grade 1980 with a major error is like lightning striking twice. It takes both the flaw and the flawless condition to create a perfect storm of value. Most coins from this year and mint spent decades in change, in jars, in bank rolls, subject to wear, environmental exposure, and damage. So when a coin manages to avoid all of that, and still displays a dramatic and rare mint error, its scarcity and collector appeal multiply significantly. It's also worth noting that demand for error coins, especially dramatic errors on modern coins, has surged in recent years as the coin collecting community grows and technology allows for more detailed analysis. Collectors are now using high-powered microscopes, digital scales, and error reference guides to identify these rare anomalies, and coins once thought to be mundane are now being re-examined for signs of doubling, repunching, clashing, or off-metal strikes. This renewed interest has driven up prices for coins like the 1980 penny that were once overlooked. Stories of collectors finding five-figure coins in bank rolls, estate collections, or inherited change jars are no longer urban legends. They're documented and celebrated. One lucky hobbyist reportedly found a near-perfect 1980 with a massive off-center strike and die clash combination in an unsearched roll purchased for just $25. After authentication and grading at MS66 red by a top-tier service, the coin sold privately for $14,000, proving once again that numismatic treasure can hide in the most ordinary places. So whether you're a seasoned collector, a roll-searching enthusiast, or simply someone with a jar of old coins on a shelf, it's worth taking a moment to examine every 1980 penny you come across. Look closely at the lettering and date under magnification for signs of doubling. Examine the mint mark for repunching. Check the rim and overall shape for any distortions or evidence of broad strikes or off-center strikes. Weigh the coin if you suspect it may be on a foreign planchet. Most importantly, assess the condition, because even the most dramatic error won't reach its full value unless it's also in pristine, mint state condition. In the end, the story of the 1980 penny is not just about a rare coin that happened to be worth $14,000. It's a reminder that even in modern coinage, errors still happen, treasures still exist, and value can still be found where few think to look. And for those with a sharp eye, a bit of knowledge, and a touch of patience, the next big discovery could be just one coin away, perhaps even hiding in your own pocket change right now. And now, as we journey even deeper into the incredible world of valuable Lincoln cents, we arrive at a seemingly ordinary yet astonishingly lucrative entry in the modern era, the 1994 Lincoln 1-cent coin, a coin minted in the billions that you could easily overlook in your spare change, yet under the right circumstances. Specific varieties of this humble penny have commanded prices as high as $11,000 on the open market, and the reasons behind such jaw-dropping valuations are rooted once again in a fascinating mix of rare mint errors, unique production anomalies, and pristine condition that sets a minuscule number of these coins apart from the rest. Minted at the Philadelphia Mint, this particular 1994 penny bears no mint mark, and most of the coins from this year were created with standard precision, meant for circulation and everyday commerce. Yet among them are a small number of error coins that have defied those intentions and instead emerged as treasures in the eyes of the numismatic community. The most important and widely recognized error that has pushed the value of some 1994 Lincoln cents into five-figure territory is a bold doubled die obverse, known to present visible doubling particularly on the motto, "In God We Trust," as well as subtle but discernible doubling on the word, "Liberty," and the date, 1994, itself. Unlike minor machine doubling, which occurs during the striking process and typically doesn't add significant value, a true doubled die is the result of a misalignment between the hub and die during die creation, making each coin struck by that die a true variety, not just a one-off accident. In the case of the 1994 doubled die obverse, examples that have been authenticated and graded in high mint state by PCGS or NGC have garnered exceptional interest and premium prices, especially because dramatic doubled dies from the 1990s are not nearly as common or widely documented as those from earlier decades. And their emergence offers new opportunities for collectors specializing in modern-era errors. Another significant error found on select 1994 cents involves major off-center strikes, which can occur when the blank planchet is not properly aligned within the collar during striking, causing the design to be dramatically shifted to one side, with some portion of the coin left blank. The most valuable of these off-center strikes typically range between 50% and 80% off-center while still retaining the full date, which is essential for attributing the error and confirming its value. Off-center 1994 cents in mint state condition are relatively scarce, and those that display perfect color, luster, and detail, along with a bold strike and full visible date, can easily cross the $5,000 to $11,000 mark depending on buyer interest and auction dynamics. Yet another type of error that elevates the value of 1994 pennies is known as the clipped planchet. This occurs when the metal strip used to punch out blank planchets overlaps with the previously punched area, resulting in a coin with a curved or crescent-shaped missing portion. While clipped planchets can range in value depending on their size and visibility, those that are dramatic, located near the date, and exist on well-preserved 1994 cents can bring significant value, especially to collectors who specialize in such anomalies. Additionally, broad strike errors have been recorded on 1994 cents, where the retaining collar fails during striking, allowing the metal to spread outward and produce a coin that is larger in diameter, flatter, and without a clearly defined rim. These coins can be particularly striking in appearance, especially if the broad strike is dramatic and does not distort the date or portrait of Lincoln. High-grade examples with strong broad strikes have been known to sell for thousands depending on the severity of the error and the condition of the coin. Perhaps even more exciting for serious error collectors are the exceedingly rare examples of 1994 cents struck on the wrong planchet. This includes coins that were mistakenly struck on planchets intended for foreign coins, nickels, or dimes. These types of wrong planchet errors are extraordinarily rare and highly valuable because of their unique appearance, weight discrepancy, and undeniable evidence of mint error. A 1994 penny struck on a dime planchet, for instance, would be noticeably smaller, lighter, silver in color, and would show parts of the Lincoln design missing due to the smaller planchet size. These coins, when certified by major grading services, often reach valuations far above $10,000, particularly when paired with high grades and excellent eye appeal. Of course, no discussion of value would be complete without considering grade, because condition is the factor that often separates a $50 error coin from an $11,000 showpiece. Only those coins preserved in mint state red, MS65 or higher, with no spots, no carbon streaks, full original luster, and razor-sharp details, are able to achieve top-tier valuations. Grading services like PCGS and NGC assess these coins with strict standards, and any coin that combines a dramatic error with such pristine preservation becomes an immediate star in auctions and private sales. Additionally, market demand for modern-era coins has been climbing in recent years, as more collectors shift their focus from traditional rarities to 20th century and post-1980s coins. This trend has led to increased value for Lincoln cents from the 1990s, particularly those that were once considered too common to warrant detailed inspection. As a result, previously unknown or overlooked varieties from years like 1994 are now being scrutinized under microscopes and digital imaging tools by collectors determined to find that one-in-a-million piece that breaks through the numismatic ceiling. One well-documented case involves a 1994 Lincoln cent discovered by a hobbyist in a bankroll, which exhibited a spectacular double-die obverse, clean surfaces, full red color, and no visible wear. After professional grading at MS66 red, the coin was auctioned and brought in a hammer price just over $11,000, shocking those who had previously dismissed modern pennies as unworthy of serious attention. These kinds of stories continue to inspire the collecting community and fuel the hunt for hidden gems. So if you have a handful of pennies sitting in a jar, or you're an active roll hunter digging through bank boxes, it's worth giving every 1994 cent a second look. Examine the motto, the date, and Liberty under strong magnification for signs of doubling. Check the coin's edges for signs of broad strike or clip. Weigh the coin if it looks smaller or silver-colored, as a wrong planchet may weigh significantly less than the standard 2.5 grams. And most importantly, assess the surface quality and overall condition, because if the coin is in error and is also in mint state red, you may just be looking at a coin worth thousands. In the ever-evolving world of numismatics, the 1994 Lincoln cent stands as a powerful reminder that treasure can be found in the most modern of places, and that attention to detail, patience, and a sharp eye can uncover value where others see only spare change, and with examples commanding up to $11,000. This humble penny continues to prove that even the most recent decades of coinage are ripe with opportunity and financial reward. And continuing this incredible journey through the world of rare and valuable Lincoln cents, we now arrive at the 1998 Lincoln 1-cent coin, another fascinating modern-era penny that has surprised collectors and stunned auction houses with its ability to command values as high as $10,000 under specific conditions, thanks to remarkable mint errors, rare varieties, and exceptional grading that combine to create a coin worthy of such a hefty price tag despite its humble 1-cent face value. The 1998 penny was minted in massive numbers. Over 5 billion were produced at the Philadelphia Mint, and as such, the average coin from this year holds no particular rarity and is often found circulating even today. But as with many mass-produced coins, when the minting process misfires, when dies are improperly prepared, or when something unusual happens during production, a few rare examples slip through the system, and among those few, some become valuable beyond belief, and the 1998 penny is no exception. The most well-known and coveted variety of the 1998 Lincoln cent is the wide AM reverse, a variety that is instantly recognizable to trained eyes and has gained massive popularity among era collectors. Normally, 1998 pennies were supposed to feature the close AM reverse design, where the letters A and M in the word America are nearly touching at the base, as is standard for Lincoln Memorial cents from that year. However, due to a die mix-up at the U.S. Mint, a small number of 1998 pennies were struck using a reverse die intended for proof coins, which had a wide AM configuration, meaning there is a clearly visible gap between the base of the A and the M. This reverse was never meant for regular circulation strikes, and its accidental use makes this variety a true rarity. When a 1998 wide AM penny is found in brilliant uncirculated condition, particularly graded MS67 red or higher, it becomes a major prize in the eyes of collectors, with some certified examples reaching or even surpassing the $10,000 mark at auction depending on demand, quality, and visual appeal. What makes this era particularly fascinating is that it's a result of a relatively subtle design detail, one that can easily go unnoticed by the untrained eye, yet holds massive value for those who recognize it. Along with the spacing between the A and M, the wide AM variety also typically features a sharper, more pronounced FG designer initials for Frank Gasparo near the base of the memorial, compared to the fainter initials on the normal closed AM reverse, another telltale sign that you're holding a potentially valuable coin. But the 1998 wide AM isn't the only error that can make this penny worth a fortune. Other error types, including off-center strikes, die clashes, struck-through errors, and coins struck on foreign or incorrect planchets have also contributed to the high valuation of 1998 Lincoln cents under rare circumstances. An off-center strike occurs when the blank planchet is not properly aligned in the press, leading to a partial or severely misaligned image. The most valuable off-center errors are typically between 50% and 80% off, while still retaining a fully visible date, including the key year, 1998. These kinds of coins are highly desirable, especially if they are in pristine mint condition with full red luster and minimal contact marks. Similarly, a die clash, where the obverse and reverse dies strike each other without a planchet between them, can leave ghost-like images from one die impressed onto the other, resulting in eerie, unusual patterns that are quite collectible. 1998 pennies showing strong, clearly visible die clash marks, especially in MS66 red or better grades, have sold for thousands to collectors who love the story behind the error. Struck-through errors also appear occasionally on 1998 cents. In these cases, foreign materials such as grease, fiber, wire, or cloth accidentally interfere with the minting process, leading to coins with missing details, ghosted sections, or strange indentations. These errors, when dramatic and obvious, can fetch high premiums, particularly if they are paired with high grades and a clean strike otherwise. Another especially rare type of 1998 penny that can fetch thousands is one that was mistakenly struck on a planchet intended for a foreign coin or another denomination. For example, a 1998 Lincoln cent struck on a dime planchet or on a planchet with the wrong metallic composition. These off-metal errors result in coins that are lighter or heavier than normal, sometimes silvery in appearance rather than coppery, and often have design elements missing around the edges due to the smaller or differently shaped planchet. These kinds of coins are rare by nature, and when authenticated and graded, they often become six-figure highlights in auction catalogs. But all of this potential for big money ultimately hinges on one unchanging factor: condition. To command top dollar, a 1998 Lincoln cent must be in superb mint state condition, generally certified as MS67 red or higher by PCGS or NGC. Red refers to the original coppery luster present when the coin left the mint. The brighter and more pristine, the more valuable the coin becomes. Coins that have toned to brown or show even slight signs of circulation will typically not command the same prices, even if they exhibit the rare wide AM variety or dramatic errors. And since only a tiny fraction of coins from 1998 have survived in flawless, uncirculated condition, especially with rare varieties or dramatic errors, their value is compounded by both scarcity and eye appeal. It's worth noting that the wide AM variety also appeared in pennies from 1999 and 2000 due to similar die mix-ups, but the 1998 wide AM was the first in the sequence, and remains one of the most desirable and hardest to find in pristine condition, giving it a special place in the modern variety collector's market. The 1998 wide AM is often considered the gateway variety for collectors entering the world of modern penny errors, and because it's key diagnostic, the space between the A and M, is easy to spot with the naked eye or a simple magnifier. It has led to a surge of interest in checking old penny rolls and jars for hidden value. Many collectors now report finding valuable examples during casual roll searches or in inherited coin hoards, and because the variety was unknown to most of the public for many years, there's still a real possibility that these rare pennies remain tucked away in everyday collections, waiting to be discovered. One notable example saw a coin roll hunter locate a 1998 wide AM penny in a $25 box of pennies purchased from a local bank. After careful examination, the coin was submitted to PCGS and received an MS-67 red grade, and later sold privately for just over $10,000 to a serious Lincoln cent variety collector, a powerful reminder that attention to detail, patience, and knowledge can transform a single cent into a life-changing find. So if you're a collector, a roll hunter, or simply someone curious about what treasures may lie in your coin jar or pocket change, it's absolutely worth taking the time to inspect every 1998 Lincoln cent you come across. Flip the coin over, look at the spacing between the A and the M in America. Check the sharpness of the FG initials near the Lincoln Memorial, and examine the surfaces under good light for any signs of doubling, striking error, or planchet abnormalities. And don't forget to check weight and color. If anything seems unusual, it could be a sign of a major off-metal error. With high demand, growing collector awareness, and strong auction results, the 1998 penny continues to prove that the era of valuable coins is not just something of the past. Even in the modern age, with mass-produced coins and advanced technology, mistakes still happen, and when they do, they open the door for new discoveries, new fortunes, and new excitement in the world of numismatics.